Day 15 of reading Too Good to Be True. So let's start. Amen. Took me 31 years. Sucky inventions, these cell phones. I was in the middle of what could be the hottest make out session of my life when my phone rang and rudely interrupted us. Take it, she whispered when I let it ring. No, I said, gasping a little. Aman, she got off me and settled back on the bench, adjusting her sweater and scarf. I groaned and pulled out my phone. Gagan, straightened. I straightened and buttoned up before I answered the like my brother could see us getting down and dirty on the hilltop. Hey, I said. Where are you? Avni and I are out for a drive. He took a split second before saying, don't you want to be home with your family now that we are all together? I frowned involuntarily at his tone. Gagan could get prickly, yes, but he was being particularly thorny this time. Be right there, I said and hang up before he could reply. For a second, I wondered if he was annoyed because I was not home or because I was away with Avni. I pushed the thought from my mind as I looked at her. Gotta get home. The party starts soon, baby, okay? She made a sad face but stood up immediately and pulled her scarf tighter around herself. I promise we'll pick up where we let off. I pulled her to my side as we walked to the car. We drove back in a silence mostly. You are not nervous about the party anymore, are you? I asked as we neared the house. She shifted her seat. Not really. No, I'm fine. Are you sure? Yes. I'll be right next to you the whole time. I know I love you, baby. She looked at me and smiled, squeezing my hand over the gear. We entered the house 20 minutes later to see the staff making the final arrangements for the party. Ramesh was giving the dogs their meals, so they were all fed up and rested by the time, and the guests started arriving. Ma, Papa, and Gagan were now here to be seen, so I assumed they were in their rooms getting ready, and Avni and I headed to ours. A few minutes passed. Avni was taking a shower behind the curtains, and I was saving by the vanity mirror. And just like that, she stepped out with a towel wrapped around her chest and kissed my back as she walked past me into the bedroom. As thought, we did this every day. I looked at myself in the mirror and shook my head. It really didn't get any better than this. I finished shaving and stepped out to see Avni struggling to zip her dress. She was facing the wall, so I paused a moment to take her naked back and the curve of her hips. No, I said. She turned towards me, confused on her face. Absolutely not. I walked slowly towards her. You are not wearing that tonight. Why? She asked, irritation lacing her voice. I rested my hands on the wall behind her because I can't walk into a family party with a full of boner baby. I whispered into her ear. She burst out laughing and slapped my arm. Shut up, Aman. It's my ass, by the way. Then ask her to name a price because you are not giving this dress back. She gasped as I kissed the slide of her neck and brought my arms around her waist to pull up the zipper. Thank you, she said when I was done. You're welcome, and you are gorgeous. I watched her as she walked away towards the bathroom. The thought that she had been quieter crossed my mind again, but I forced it away to stay in the present. If there was anything brewing in her head, she would share it with me when she wanted to, and we would get through this together. I decided to get ready. I was pouring myself a glass of water when Avi returned to the bedroom looking like the dream she was. Her cheeks and her eyelids glittered with whatever she would applied on them. Her hair fell loosely around her shoulders in waves, and her legs looked like artwork in the deep red heels that she would slipped on. You are telling me I lucked out so much that I get to have you by my side. When I walked into the party tonight, I said, you are really should thank you, stars. She smiled gently as she dropped a delicate bag on her shoulder and dabbed some of my aftershave on her neck. Shall we? She asked, her hand out stretched for me to take. How could one person make me want to give everything up so I could run my fingers through her hair while she fell asleep beside me? How could one look from her make me want to build walls so high that nothing and no one could get close enough to hurt her? And how could one touch from her make me want to tell her to be mine forever? I was losing my mind, I know, but if I had to, I would fall in love with Avni exactly like this all over again. Avni. Empty pockets and stomachs. One evening, I told myself just one evening, that's all I had to get through. Without letting my overthinking mind ruin the absurd dream that our trip had been so far. We had the most gorgeous and eventful afternoon, yet Gagan's word still echoed in my ears. Enjoy the party, get your selfies, and then let things run their course, as they must. I rolled my back, my shoulders, flexed my fingers, and gently wrapped them around Aman's arm as we made our way downstairs. Aman reminded every bit the Aman he always was. He would sense a change in my energy. He didn't let it show, so I could not be more grateful. The party looked like it had just begun. Guests were rolling in the small groups, and the main living area was quickly filling up. If this was what his parents thought of as an intimate gathering of people, their more inclusive guest list must be the entire state of Uttarakhand, I thought. Servers looked exactly like they did in books and movies, textbook appearances, almost stereotypical, walking around with trays of drinks and small size food items that left the host pocket and the guest stomach empty. A live hand band had been set up at the far end of the living room and was now belting our soft tunes. I spotted Aman's parents by the door welcoming a family that looked like they owned something or the other. My bed was an airline, but I had no way of checking. My eyes swept across the room looking for Gagan, but the guests looked like they were having fun and the glass fans had not frosted over, so I guessed he must not have arrived yet. Let's get drink. We will both need a patience to get through all the small talk. Aman lightly held my waist and navigated me towards the bar. We ordered glass of wine for me and ginger ale for Aman. He gave me a quick kiss as he handed me my drink and was about to say something when a gentleman walked up to him and started talking soft. I zoned out after a brief introduction and swept my eyes across the room to take in the lavish anniversary party. Whenever Aman's parents looked at us, I cheerily raised my glass to them, signaling that I was having fun. Aman was still deeply engaged in a conversation about light bulbs and stocks. I had no clue how the two were related, but the wine was beginning to taste amazing and I could feel myself calming down. That was quick. One more. Aman asked after a few minutes, having seen me down the last gulp. Maybe in a while. Shouldn't we go meet your parents? Let's do that. We walked our way through the groups of guests, now beginning to get louder, chatting over the increasingly lively music. Are you having fun, beta? Aman's mom asked, giving me a warm hug. As I wished them both. Of course, Auntie, I reassured her. You look beautiful. She really did, in a stunning vintage Banarsi sari and the antique gold jewelry that sparkled on her ears and wrist. The two of you look good together, his father said, sagely placing his hand on Aman's shoulder. Now go out of the bag. There is another bar set up for more exciting conversation, his mother whispered to me, amusement in her voice. If you stay here, you will get bored with all the soft talk everyone will want to have with this son of ours. I giggled at that and hugged them once more before turning to Aman and said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" He excused himself and led me to a quiet corner of the room, and when I continued to walk towards the door to the backyard, he followed me with a confused face. Baby, we might get caught, he whispered. What? I laughed. There are cameras everywhere. Let's just go back upstairs. I walked on the without saying anything till we stepped out of the back door. He stopped short when he saw the bar, with people closer to our age gathered there. A group of three girls stood at the end of the bar. Another group hung out by the pool. Oh, he said. Oh, I winked. It was a lot quieter here, and the weather was perfect for all the al fresco setting. If I kept drinking wine with Aman looking the way he did in his suit, we might just have to retire early, I thought. Do you want me to introduce you to everyone now or after another drink? He said. You know me too well. What do you think? One glass of wine coming up. He gave me a quick hug before walking over the bar to greet the girls and speak to the bartender. The girls turned around to check out Aman's as he walked back to me with my drink, but I chose not to give that much thought for that moment. I was about to take a first sip when a familiar voice interrupted my thought. Hello, Avni, and my heart dropped to the pit of my stomach. I froze mid sip and took a couple of moments to compose myself. Confrontations have always been the death for me of me. If you threw me into a room with someone who could potentially draw me into drama of the negative kind, my cognitive functions would shut down. my self confidence would dip lower than my standard of humor, and forming responses in whole sentences would feel like I was being made to drag 100 kilo boulder uphill. In short, I would be depleted in every way. Just another gift. My life has given me a wide childhood trauma. The gift that keeps on giving on my way to becoming a fully functioning 23-year-old adult. I have avoided confrontations the best I could. In 6th grade, I saw Siley Mystery, my benchmate, stealing my new gel pens from my pouch during lunch hour, never said a word, just moved to another seat the next day, and never spoke to her again. In college, I caught my first boyfriend cheating on me with the winner of the year's internal beauty pigment, Miss Puneri Pulse 2019, and never spoke of it to anyone because if he knew that I knew it would become a whole thing that I would have to deal with it. I told myself my heart was not broken, just slightly scratched, and ended the relationship myself. And how can I not mention finding about my parents' decision to separate through a regular phone call from my father when I was staying with Aji? I did not ask them what was going on. I did not scream or cry or protest even to Aji. I just convinced myself that it was not real until it happened and bore the aftermath and consequences once it did. It took me years to come to terms with what my childhood had looked like and what it actually was because I did not have it in me to sit my parents down and ask them. I didn't even try, and then it was suddenly too late to even do that. I could feel a slight burn behind my eyelids when I shut them tightly before turning to the face the dementor that was unfortunately Aman's mom's firstborn. Just for tonight, I reminded myself and forced a smile as I opened my eye to lock them with Gagan's. They had the same indifference, same judgment as they had that morning. Hey Gagan, I said, trying to sound cheerful. Hello to you, what are we drinking? I could feel his words crawl up my spine, one barbeta at a time. Wine for my girl and ginger ale for me. What can I get you? Aman asked as he walked back to us. How's the wine, Avni? Gagan turned to face me, almost ignoring Aman, as he tucked his hands into the pocket of his jacket. Good, you should try it, I replied cheerfully. Thanks, I'll get myself a whiskey. He pursed his lips into what only he could pass as a smile. Excuse me, I got all the chumps chance, Aman joked as his brother walked towards the bar. Clearly, I said, drowning my second drink, I was going to need a lot more than just resolve and positive affirmations to get through this evening. If alcohol was what the Lord was offering me, alcohol was what I would take. The group hanging out by the pool had now moved to the bar, and two of them joined Aman and me, followed by the others one by one. I realized these were the rich offspring of the various billionaires attending the party. Every few minutes, Aman introduced me to a new pair of eyes that I left, scanned every piece of jewelry on my body, and then the thread count of the fabric my dress was made of. I really don't want to stereotype rich people after being with Aman so for so many months now, but they were making it very difficult not to. Gagan walked in and out of our conversation as and when he saw people he needed to talk to, that is, those who looked as bored and annoyed as him, but for the better part of the next hour, I stood, sandwiched between the two most opposite types of people in this world. One was sunshine in human form, and the other was well Gagan. At some point, we again found ourselves in our little group of three. The wine was beginning to talk back to me, so I stuck to water after that third glass and told myself that I needed to be full control of my hands, just in case I ended up punching Gagans in the face. A sudden question from him interrupted my very very detailed mental rehearsal of how I wanted that fight to go. Do you go out often, Avni? Sorry. Do you go out often? Not very. Uni. And the bookstore keep me busy. We prefer spending most evening at home. Aman added as he slid his arm around my waist. And where is home? Gagan asked as he took a swig from his glass, without taking his eyes off of me. Sastri Road near Flora Fountain. Wow, lovely neighborhood. The rent must be exorbitant. You manage that on a bookstore receptionist part time salary? He asked flatly. I see subtly. Isn't your suit tonight? Gagan, Aman replied curtly before I could respond. I apologize if that was too personal. I was just trying to get to know her. Since, yeah, let's start with her hobbies then. Aman cut him off. Wow, so wound up tonight. Chill. We are all friends here. He patted Aman's shoulder and took another sip of his drink like he was not increasingly being an asshole to me as the night progressed. I like reading, I said before either of them could say anything more. The night air had started to prick my skin, and Gagan's proximity was making me nervous. I like books, I reiterated. And how did you start reading books? My mother used to read a lot, my grandma too, so I grew up with many books lying around the house. And your dad? He worked a lot. I see. And where did he work? I could feel Aman shifting on his feet. I could feel his arm around my waist tense as he stood patiently by my side while his brother interrogated me like I would fed him the candy that had made his face turn permanently sore. He worked as an engineer. And your mother? She was a math tutor. Was? Yeah, she's not tutor anymore. What about your siblings? I am an only child. Your parents must miss you since you are away from for the weekend. I knew what he was doing. He was digging for information. He wanted to know more. My guess was that he would ask Aman about me, and Aman had given him no answer since this one not conversation we had had yet. Aman may have been curious about my family. It was but natural, but he would never pushed me to share any more than I was comfortable sharing. He was my safe space. I trusted him to be there when I wandered too far. And when I turned around to see if he was keeping up with my whims and insecurities, he always was. Avni's grandma raised her. He was all. He always was. Avni's grandma raised her in Pune. Aman answered for me, and then added, I think we should head inside and see what Ma and Papa are up to. Maybe they are looking for us. I see. We are not very open to giving out details. Is there a reason, Aman? Doesn't know much about you, Avni. I had expected Gagan to be sharp, maybe even hostile, but I had not expected this. What was he playing at? What was it about me that irritated him so much that he did not even consider engaging in small talk before going at me with what was clearly unconcealed malice? Okay, Aman said finally, his voice cold and apathetic, in a way I had not heard before. He tightened his grip around my waist as he put his drink down on a tall table next to us and faced his brother. You could cut through the tension in the air with a butter knife. Gagan, a word. Aman nodded towards the door that led back into the house. Sure, Gagan replied calmly. See you around, Avni. Nice chatting with you, he said as he walked away. You too, I replied, the words sticking in my throat. Baby, I'm sorry. Aman turned to me quickly. I don't know what's with him tonight. I'm going to talk to him now. Don't move from here. He hugged me and I let myself sink into his familiar touch before I pulled back. There is something you should know. I looked up at him. What is it? Did something happen? I took a deep breath and told Aman everything. I told him what Kagan had said to me verbatim and what I would said in return. My brain kept screaming at me to shut up. It's important weekend for him, Avni. He loves his family and misses them, and he is a good guy. Don't. But I had said too much already. Saying all of it out loud to Aman instantly eased the tense I would been feeling in my chest for hours. He would know how to fix it. I could lean on him. I saw Aman's jaw ticking in annoyance when I finished. He may have been a little pale too. I could not be sure. I reached out to take his hand in mine and gently asked him to calm down before he talked to his brother about it. I am not sure he heard me because before I could say anything more, he pulled his hand out of mine, turned away, and stood towards the door through which Gagan had gone. I would never seen him look the way he did then. I stood there stunned, regretting the fact that I had done the one thing I would told myself I would not do. I had ruined the night for Aman, and something told me that the shit show had just begun. Aman. Did I even know what I was doing? I followed Gagan into the house, fuming at a new piece of information I would received from Avni. I would have liked to take a moment to process what was going on, but something about the audacious way in which he spoke to Avni compelled me to confront him immediately. What the hell is your problem? I asked as soon as we entered the tea room, anxious next to the loud living room. We had sat there earlier as brothers catching up on life. I banged the door shut and charged up to Aman, who was casually sipping his drink. Was he really this calm? Was what is it? Let's hear it. What is it wrong with her? What is it? Wow, look at you defending her honor. Tell me, what about the conversation between her and me did you not like? What did I not like? I did not like that you were being a complete asshole to my girlfriend. I do not like that you made her feel uncomfortable. And how exactly did I do that? Cut the bullshit, Gagan. I am not in the mood for your patronizing Psychotherapy. We both know what you were trying to do there. What I was trying to do was look out for my baby brother. I am not a baby. Let's get that straight for starters. I know whom to allow enter entry into my life and whom not to. And in any case, how would you achieve that by threatening my girlfriend like Sid? By now I was shaking with rage. How was he being so casual about this? But Kagan remained unmoved. Aman, open your eyes. His voice was calm, cold. And for 1 second, just stop being so fucking sensitive about this. He narrowed his eyes. What about my interaction with your girlfriend pissed you off? That I asked her about her job or that I asked her about her family? What do her parents do? Where did she grow up? These are all normal fucking questions. His voice got slightly louder as he said, these are the first questions people ask other people. And if the other person is girl my brother has brought home for the first time, what's the big fucking deal if I ask her just that? Why couldn't you ask me? I snapped back. Why you put her on the spot? Okay, Gagan took a contemplative step to the side and leaned against the coffee table, crossing his arms. I'll ask you, what are her parents' names? I stood in my spot, heart beating so loud that I suddenly thought even Gagan could hear it. Which school did she go to? Who was her best friend going up? Where do her parents live? Gagan's eyebrows, I now noticed, were raised. The fact that I did not know the answer to those questions pissed me off. Was he teasing me? Teasing? Testing if I had the basic ability to suss out people and build relationships? Did he think I was so stupid that I would not have thought of asking Avni these things? There was a reason we had not had the conversation yet, and the reason was between her and me. The way I looked at it, it was her business and nobody else. So it was up to her when and how she shared any details of her life with anyone, including me. You think I'm stupid, don't you? No. Amen. I think you are a naive. You trust people too easily. You let people in too quickly. You let your guard down too soon. And I'm just here, looking out for you. I could not believe my ears. Was he being serious, Gagan? I am 31 years old. I am not fucking child. I know what I am doing. I can take care of myself. Like you did the last time. Do you want me to remind me how you quit college and flew to London for 4 months when Archer left you? How I was there to make sure you went back to university? I was fucking 19, I yelled. That was years ago. You don't think I can handle relationship better now? And are you handling it better? Are you telling me you don't feel even a little disturbed about the fact that someone you are in serious relationship with that doesn't want to let you in? That she doesn't trust you enough to tell you about her parents? That she does not want to get close enough to have access to information that clearly matters to her? You, on the other hand, you've flown her all the way to your parents' anniversary party in Missouri and are introducing her to your closest friend and family like you want them to know that this is the person you are going to marry. I had to admit that there had been moments when I could tell that Martin, Ria, and Maya knew more about Avni's life and what had scared her with insecurities and trust issues than I did. That they had been there for her when she had needed them. They knew how to help her even when things between us got strained. I knew she went to them for advice. In those moments, I would told myself that these were things that needed time, but we had known each other for quite a few months. How had I not earned that spot in her life yet? The way Gagan put my doubts into words stirred something inside me. I wanted to tell him how wrong he was, that he was out of his mind to question Avni's intentions. But the words did not come to me. The sentences did not form. I could feel any anger. I could feel my anger growing by the minute. How could he? Didn't he think I could make the right decision in life? And this was Avni we were talking about. I would never met anyone like her. No one as real and unapologetic herself for sure. So I asked a question I had wanted to ask when I walked into the room. Why did you threaten her behind my back? Who gave you the right to do that? I saw Gagan's face change when he heard me address him in a tone I would never used with him before. Excuse me, he asked, his voice low. She told me about the conversation you had with her in our room earlier today. What the fuck was that about? Gagan took a step towards me and then another, slowly and deliberately, covering the distance between us till he was standing right in front of me, inches away. He would always been a little taller than me. Now, the way he was towering over me gave me a sense of how offended he was by the question. You know what I mean? He said through gritted it. I had gone up to your room to set things straight with Avni because I was trying to look out for you. You won't believe me if I tell you that I really have nothing against her, but I'll tell you anyway. I don't. It's always been about you. It's always been about us, you and me, brothers. The world looks at our family and sees the mansion and the cars and the $1 billion empire. What they don't see in the decades that our parents put into building this shiny life we have today. the sacrifice they made to get where we are, including giving up on the time they would have wanted to spend with us. I don't know if you care to remember, but growing up, it was just us, always just you and me. I took you to school. I made sure you did your homework. I learned how to cook so I could cook you breakfast every morning before we could afford staff in our kitchen. I beat up the guys who bullied you and picked you up from parties that you lied to our parents about. I was there when you got your heart broken, and I was there when you sat on the chair as CEO. I always looked out for you, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I have always felt the need to protect you and make sure that everyone around you recognizes you for who you are and gives you what you deserve. And after being in your corner and rooting for you for all these years, if one conversation with a girl can easily rip us apart and make you question my intentions, I guess I don't have anything to protect in the first place. Gagan slowly walked back to the coffee table and raised his glass to me. I wish you both a lifetime of happiness. Cheers. Then he opened the door of the Ansis and walked out, leaving me and my chaotic thoughts to fight it out. I felt a huge metal ball settling into the pit of my stomach. Had I just made a mistake? Why didn't I have answer to Gagan questions? Why? Increasingly pissed off at myself for speaking to him the way I had. Why the hell did I suddenly feel so incredibly insufficient? Last chapter. Avni, almost there. 10 minutes had passed since someone had walked away to talk to his brother. Restless, I made my way into the large living room, where the party was now on in full swing. People were laughing and chatting at the top of their voices. Aman's parents were the sweetest sight, cheering the music being played by the live band, much louder now and squarely in party mode, while others clapped and looked for their partners to join them on the floor. I scanned the room and my eyes fell on Gagan, leaning by the bar, chatting with someone. Where was Aman? I contemplated looking for him, but my thoughts had begun to spiral, and I could feel building up inside me. Something had to have gone terribly wrong, because if it had not, Aman would have come looking for me, but he was now here to be seen. My gut coiled in anticipation of the nightmare about to unfold. I was about to fish out my phone and call Aman when I caught a glimpse of his blue suit across the room. I stuffed my phone into my purse, quickly straightened my shoulders, and plastered a fake smile on my face as I placed one foot after the other to reach Aman, who looked like he was heading towards the bar. Hey, I tapped his arm. I was looking for you. He turned to me with an expression that I could not quite read, and half smiled. Hey, sorry, got caught up with family, he replied absent-mindedly. His smile remained firmly in place but did not reach his eyes. You okay? I asked softly, my hand on his arm. Never been better. He slid his hand into mine. Drink? Sure, I said tentatively. Why did I feel like I was on the brink of a fall, like the other perfect caves canvas that my life had been with Aman in it up until this evening was grating and folding at the sides. I tugged at Aman's hand as we walked together to the bar. What happened in there? Are you okay? He looked straight ahead without replying. Aman, I asked again. No reply. His strides got longer as he almost dragged me forward. Hey, I stopped, forcing him to stop as well. A few feet short of the bar. Aman looked at me. Can we talk about this later? It's my parents' anniversary dinner, and I would really appreciate it if you did not mess it up any more than you already have. Wait a second. I opened my mouth to ask what the fuck he was talking about. But he turned his back to me, let go of my hand, and walked away. He was mad. Why the fuck was he mad? And why at me? What was I not seeing here? I quickly caught up with him and placed my hand on his arm, gently at first, and then with light taps to get his attention. By now, he was leaning over the bar and placing the order for our drinks with the partner. Aman, I said a tad sternly, we need to talk. Yes, we do, he said, turning suddenly. I could see the resemblance between the sibling. Uncanny. He kept his eyes on my face for a split second longer than it felt like he wanted to, and then looked away towards where the guests were. Should we step away for a bit? I said. No, why? Because I am here to be with my parents for one evening. We can think past what you want. Can we not? I felt my ears getting warm as the chill in his voice and the weight of his words settled in my chest. I gulped twice to keep the tears from spilling out and stared at Aman with a frozen face. Breathe, Avni, breathe. I nodded at him, realizing that any words that left my mouth then would only make things worse. I took the drink he offered and turned to face the party. He picked up his ginger ale and stood stiffly next to me. Over the next 20 minutes, Aman made polite conversation with guests who stopped by to talk to him. I did not register any of it. My ears were ringing from what I had just heard Aman say. It was not like Aman to behave this way between conversation with others. There was radio silence between us. I felt as thought the music that had filled the space thus far was receding into the distance till the only sound I could hear was the loud thumping of my heart. I could feel a scream creeping up my throat and gulped again. I had not had panic attack in months, and now was not the best time for it. Excuse me, I said between heavy breaths, and bolted towards the stairway that led to our room, taking long strides at first and then practically spring as I felt the tears begin to roll down my cheeks. Almost there, almost there, almost there, I chanted to myself until I reached the room, slammed the door shut behind me, and turned the latch twice to make sure Aman could not walk in to see me melting into a complete mess. And then I let the scream inside my head take over. Aman, what did they do to her? My heart sank when I softly slipped of the crowded room and rushed up the stairs. The guilt of having snapped at her now gripped me tight. She did not know what I was upset about, and I should have explained. At least I should have given her a chance to speak before I blamed her for whatever this evening was turning out to be. It was not like me to speak to her like that. She was Avni, my Avni. I finished what remained of my drink and headed after her. I reached the door of our room and turned the knob to find it locked from the inside. I took the spare key out of my pocket and knocked twice before using it to open the latch inside. There was no Avni inside. Avni, I called out. I entered the bathroom and saw movement near the balcony. I took a couple of steps towards it. Avni, I call you right back. I heard her say before she disconnected the call and turned to face me. Her cheeks were streaked with tears, and I felt my heart break into a million pieces. Who was that? I asked gently. Martin. Something about the answer flipped a switch in my head. A lane feeling of insecurity and jealousy crept up my spine as I watched her block her phone and walk past me into the living area. Martin, I asked as I followed her out. Yes. You could not wait 10 minutes before you ran to him with all your life's problems again. Mean, I know my brain was buzzing with that feeling of inadequacy I had felt a little while back. Clearly, she felt no shame or nerves sharing anything about her life with her friends, unlike I guessed how she felt with me. She accepted and trusted them more than me, no matter how hard I tried. I just did not seem so qualified. Rage filled my heart. Aman, what advice did he give you? I asked stiffly. He was just listening to me. And what is about him that makes you comfortable enough to discuss our private issues? Does my consent on this not matter? Since I'm involved, what? Answer the question. I yelled louder than I had wanted to. The lack of validation from her had hurt me in ways I had not realized earlier. Her shoulders jumped as more tears flowed out of her eyes. I took a step back and breathed deeply, looking up at the ceiling. This was not me. I took two more long breaths before I locked my eyes with her tears once. What is it, Avni? I started. I needed to have a conversation and get past the angry exchanges. What am I not doing right? Where have I gone wrong? Don't that you don't think me worthy enough to let me get any closer than I was when we first met. What do I have to do to earn your trust? Every time I feel like I want to know more about you, I tell myself that I'm on your time and I'll take it. I'll take whatever you gave me, but it's been months now, and I am getting tired of sitting on the sidelines, waking up every day, and hoping that that will be the day you finally let me into your inner circle. I don't know if you have heard me the million times I have told you I love you, but I honestly do, and I hate feeling alone in this relationship. You say you have trouble believing if I am for real. You say I am too good to be true. You say you are waiting for the other shoe to drop, so now I am not good enough because you think I am too good. There is no winning with you. Is there, Aman? Aman. She was sobbing now, holding up her hand and as if to say enough, but unable to say the word. But I could not stop either. Who did this to you? I asked. What is it that happened to you that you only put up balls? What did your parents do to you that you refuse to forgive them? Why can't you believe a good thing when it staring you in the face? Why won't you talk about it? Tell me, I want to know. Aman stopped. I had pushed way past her comfort level, but I needed answer. Where this relationship with Avni was concerned, I was all in. I deserved to know, I deserved to hear her either tell me that she was all in as well, or walk away or never look back. She sat down on the bed and continued to sob. Avni, Aman, please. No, I insist. insisted and took a step towards her. I want to know. What did they do? How did they scare you so badly that you only doubt love and trust? What did they do? She stared at her clenched hands in her lap. Aman, they they were Avni. What did they do? They died. I froze in the defending silence that followed her relevance. Avni's eyes stared back into mine with nothing with disappointment and hurt. I took a step towards her, but she gestured to me stop. I saw her gather the broken pieces of her heart as she looked back down at her hands, now bleeding from her nails, punching her skin. She drew in a long breath, rolled back her shoulder, and wiped her tears with her palms. When she looked up, her eyes were blank, staring right through me at the wall behind. When she started speaking, her voice was flat, impassive, and at a first barely audible. I was 11 when I found out that my parents were getting divorced. Aji stepped in immediately and took me to live with her. I was too young to process how a marriage that had seemed perfectly happy could end so suddenly. And I did not ever ask. Aji never let me feel alone. My parents started living separately in two different homes in Mumbai, and I started a new life in Pune. They were told me I could take my time to decide who I wanted to live with. But I chose to stay with Aji. I met them occasionally on birthday and holidays, but I never understood how they were as happy apart as I remembered them to be together. What started out as confusion slowly grew into annoyance and I guess eventually anger. They never did tell me why their marriage had not worked, and their amicable separation just made it that much so tougher for me to believe that something was wrong. I kept thinking they had just overreacted, but I don't think they really thought about what their separation would do to me. I slowly distanced myself from them as life began afresh in Pune. I felt peaceful and safe with Aji, and I decided that was what I wanted. My meeting my parents on and off turned into just phone calls and then into unread text. As I got older, I let the resentment of their divorce affect my individual relationships with them. They had not tried harder for me. I thought they had not thought of holding it together till I was old enough to deal with it. What I understood later was that there was no great reason for their fallout. They just happened to realize that they were better apart than together. My mother was a teacher and my father is an engineer with a telecom company. They met through common friends and got married in a hurry. The marriage went into a strange, uncomfortable place a few years after I came along. Aji told me later that they had tried for a while before deciding that they were better off being friends than life partners. It was as simple as that. They tried harder with me as I got older, but I kept myself away. I did not want to be hurt by them or anyone else again. Everything I had seen and believed about relationship and love slowly diminished as I got busy building walls around me higher every time someone came too close. By the time I was 22, I had completed lost touch with them. Aji was my world, my everything. Then I moved to Mumbai. There, I finally had friends who allowed me to be the person I wanted to be without judgment. I was happy. I began to understand family differently. I saw that this lot knew me and that they were not going anywhere. They would always be my side. I started getting better at studies. I dated occasionally, life was better. I was finding some footing after spending a decade closing myself off to the possibility possibility of making any sense of why my family was so fucked up and yet so sorted. And then in October last year, I got a call from Aji telling me that Mama had a heart attack. And before I could ask how she was, I heard that Baba had been in accident while he was driving to the hospital to see her. She survived only to learn from Baba's death and passed away in her sleep. The next morning, another heart attack. My world came crashing down with regret and the thought of everything I would left unsaid. Every message I had missed or ignored, and every call I had not returned, every gift I had left unopened, and every invitation I had declined. I had spent all my teenage years wishing my parents would leave me alone, and then it really happened. I got what I asked for. An eerie silence fell around us. Avni had said all that in one breath. She looked spent. Her head hung now low, endless tears seeping out of her eyes. 100 thoughts crowded by my mind at once. Just hours ago, we were where she was sitting now, holding hands and planning the weekend. In the hours before that, I had been watching her in deep sleep, thinking how incredibly fortunate I was to have a girl like her in my arms. Only minutes ago, I would had the chance to slave the situation we were in, and then seconds ago, I had crashed the chance. that chance. I could not imagine the pain she was in. Avni, I said softly as I reached out to take her hand, but she jerked her body away and rose from the bed. She walked to the coffee table and turned to face me. Fat tears continued to roll down her cheeks with no sign of restraint. The face of courage she had put up had cracked at the edges, and her shoulders had completely dropped in surrender. I am broken, woman. I am not the perfect person that you are, or the person that you want me to be. I don't have any shit together. I am winging it every single day, trying to make sense of everything that's happened to me. I don't see things that way you do. I have trouble believing a good thing when it's staring me in the face because good thing always turn out to be an illusion, and you just proved me right again. No, no, no. What can I do? Avni, please tell me I love you. Do you really? More with every breath I take, then let me go home, where people are exactly who I think they are. January 2024 Avni. And that's that. I finished my makeup with a little lip gloss and looked at myself in the mirror of the guest bedroom at Maya's apartment. Though I had argued with Maya endlessly about look, booking a salon appointment that morning for my hair to be done, I was glad she had not listened. I had never thought it could look this shiny and set. And she was right, the new powder blue salwar kameez really brought out my eyes. I slipped on my kolhapuri and sprayed on a bit of perfume before looking into the mirror again. Big day today, I told myself. Almost thought I would not make it, didn't I? I almost gave up midway, but now I could take a bow. The journey, they say, is more important than the destination. But I quite like the destination and could do without the executing journey. Thank you. Annie, we are late. I heard Ria shout through the door for the sixth time in the last 2 minutes, like I don't know how to tell time. I let out the breath I was holding. Well done, Avni. I told my reflection in the mirror, picked up my tot, and walked out to the living room. Aji sat on the couch in the living room, looking regal, as usual, in a pink chiffon sari and pearls. Are Rajmata. I bowed low before her, my palms together, and received a fake slap of my shoulder from her. Ready? She asked, smiling happily. Ready. Maya was waiting downstairs in the car with Drew as the three of us slid into the back seat. Ria and Drew were a thing now, by the way. Finna fucking Ellie. They refused to give us clear details of how they got off their nerves and managed to tell each other how they felt, but Maya and I suspected a drunken night of wild sex had something to do with it. They are cute together, I have to say, and we are roughly entertained, so it's all good. Where is that strange boy, Martin? Aji asked. He's meeting us there, Aji. Maya clarified. All abroad. She asked as she put her car into drive. Yes, we we came in unison. The drive was so wise, a quiet one, and I stared out of the window, thinking of the past few weeks of the late nights and early mornings, of hard works, and then some of more, of therapy and good food, and of finally coming to terms with my life and putting on my big girl pants. A lot had changed in past 121 days. Here is what happened. 3 months ago, I landed in Pune that night. Every wound that I had stapled shut slipped open like an all-you-can-eat buffet. Hammering, hammering emotionally, like I probably should have a year ago or maybe 12 years ago, feeling everything and nothing at the same time, confused and lost because life had not thrown me enough chance to make things better for myself. But I had taken none of them. Daniel is a funny thing, it works like a charm till it does not, and then when being that way stops making sense, the waves come crashing down on the you. You can swim or you can drown, baby. I choose the obvious option and drowned, hopelessly, with no mercy whatever. I don't did not bother showing myself compassion. I did not tell myself that it was going to get better. Hell, I refused to even let myself believe there was ever going to be a day when I had leave my bed, take a shower, and breathe fresh air. It was full and complete surrender, and the further I let myself sink into doom thinking and night terror, the better I felt when I woke up the next morning. The oppressive guilt of putting it absolutely no effort towards the betterment of my mental and physical health felt oddly liberating. I had allowed old metal chains to be tied around my limbs for so long that they had now started digging into my skin. The pain was killing me, but I had also started enjoying it. Liberation laced with exorcising neglect. Aji had taken me in again and tended to me like I was a lost, homeless puppy. Every meal arrived at my bedside. My devices went missing for the past first few days and were magically replaced by romance novels. And I was left alone to wallow in my little puddles of sadness. And then, just at the right time, I was not. Aji had given me 9 days to stew in my emotional juices. 9 days is all it takes. She had said, not one day less, not one day more. Unpopular opinion, but okay. I had told her. There was no proof for the theory that 9 days were all I needed to get over everything, plugging my thoughts, my parents' broken marriages with its baggage of abandonment issue, trauma, and loss of trust, the shock of losing them both at the same time, the PTSD and guilt that had followed, and then the heartbreak of losing the man I had so deeply fallen in love with. But it was all I was given. Now, I could say that it had worked in whatever fucked up way. Seems like a lot when I list it out like that, but something about Haji refusal to let me sink on, like very faint sliver leaning around the dark as fuck cloud of my life's fuck ups. Impassable sentences formation. I know I'm sorry. I went to therapy for mental wellness. Grammar lessons were not included 2 months ago. That does feel better, does not it? Dr. Sneha Kumar, my Indian American therapist, who also happens to be smoking hot in her mid 40s and gay, said as we took a stroll on the stretch of lawn behind her clinic. I had spent a whole session bawling my eyes out till I could feel every blood vessel from my brain to my eyes socket throb. I had started therapy again after many months on Maya's incessant, nagging and self-driven initiative to locate a recommended therapist close to home in Pune, and now I wanted to hug her and tell her I could not thank her enough. She does make good recommendations, that girl. It took us about a week to finally get the fucking dam inside me to burst. How predictable, isn't it? It took the poor little broken girl 7 days and a good chunk of her savings to start getting normal people feeling again. Martin and Ria had packed up my life and shipped most of myself to Pune. By mid-October, I missed Mumbai. I missed Santatayan, the neighbor obnoxious cat. I missed Uni. I missed the bookstore and Mira, Auntie and my friends. But Aji's presence and all the deliciousness she served up with so much love, Pune's relatively pollution-free air, and my conversation with Dr. Sneha had made me feel comfortable again. My department head at uni was kind enough to let me attend classes remotely, so there was that escape from my demon mind. I was grateful for it, and I grabbed it with both hands. It really is surprising how much we underestimate the connection between our mind and body. I had started the month feeling like I was standing at hell's door with bottle of champagne for Satan. Sta- Satan. Never go empty handed to anyone's house. Aziz had taught me, but ended it with only a partly numbed mind and the renewed ability to sleep through the night without waking up to cry on my balcony. Progress. You are waiting to hear about what happened with Aman, are not you? I can practically hear you violently nodding your head in agreement. And engaging me on to wrap up my soap story and tell you what about the hot guy. Rude. The last time I saw Aman, he was in impeccable blue suit, staring at me, shock, sympathy, and regret written large in his gorgeous brown eyes, even as I packed my stuff and walked out without one backyard glance. If everything I had read in the books were true, the only hope left for us was in the last book. Look, but I could not get myself to face him, much like everything that had hurt me till that point. Walking out seemed like such a well rehearsed move. It came to me naturally with no effort whatsoever. Aman must have called his parents as soon as I walked out that door because there was a helicopter waiting for me at the helipad when I exited the Rana home. The party had moved to the pool area by then, thankfully, and I had been able to slip out of my service exit when Ramesh emerged from the side of the launch to take my bags from me. I don't remember much after that, other than being strapped into the chopper seat and flown to Pune like express mail. I did not cry a drop until I got out of the SUV, courtesy of what I should call the Rana's courier service that dropped me to Aji's apartment, and then I felt a hand on the side of my face and Aji's familiar scent that rushed to my brain and she pulled me into a hug. The tears came then. Aman had evidently called Aji as soon as I had left and told her everything that had transpired and in Missouri. He had also texted Maya, who had texted Ria and Martin, and they would taken the bus out to Pune the following morning to be with me. One evening, as I sat on Aji's balcony after a really helpful session with Dr. Sneha, evaluating what I was hurting about the most. I tried to file my life events chronologically in my mind to identify which one was making my chest feel like a demonic child's rattle toy. Turns out it did not matter how recent or how old the trauma was. It kind of haunted you the same, just at different times and places. Like thinking of my parents' death always gave me a very distinct migraine, the kind of that harmed your audio visual settings and sent current down your spine. Memories of their separation always gave me a panic attack or nightmare that lasted a few minutes every few weeks. My abandonment issue suffered when I had a high achieving day, like the day I graduated from high school, or the day I cleared my law college entrance exam, or when I learned how to drive a stick shift, or when I opened my first bank account all by myself. It always hurt me some hidden nook of my chest to think that they would have been proud of how I turned out to it only I had reached out to them in time. But walking away from Aman that hurt me right in the center of my chest and in every nerve ending that began there and spared that to the rest of my body. It hurt to blink, it hurt to think, it hurt to feel, it hurt to breathe. Every breath came in just fine, but left very, very slowly, like the air was taking its time to ensure every inch of my being hurt before it left my body, only to return and repeat the whole process. You would think that that would hurt more, right? But there was a strange sting in knowing that the person you loved continued to live in the same world as you, but without you. I don't know if the two feelings are comparable, but I felt them in a such quick succession every time that I could not help but wonder if I should feel guilty for comparing the two events. That was death was so final. I did not hold any hope. I missed my parents, no matter how troubled our relationship was, but they left when they left. Their funeral was the last postage stamp on any hope I had ever seen them again. But Aman was very much here, living, breathing, smiling great. The heavy weight of regret started settling in my when the fog of unease started thinning with therapy. It was all. It was, after all, a MA problem. Then I heard myself say at the end of the session, both Dr. Sneha and I raised our eyebrows in a sync and let out a breath. It had cost me a lot of money to say that stupid sentence. I should have just listened to my friend. I resumed living my life the best I could. My final term exams were coming up, and the voice in my head commanded me to shut the fuck up and start paying attention in class. Every minute I spent in my therapist's office, every chai I had with Aji on her balcony, every new book I read, every class I started getting better at, every minute I slept longer and better began to make living a little easier. My days started to go into a slow but steady routine of waking up at 8 a.m. to with the scent of Aji's milky masala chai, breathing in the kitchen, freshening up to study for a few hours before my class, and after they were done, spending the evening with my books and then kitty party gossip about everyone in Aji's apartment complex. I spoke to Ria and Martin often, but only when they called to check if I was still functioning human being. Maya and I spoke every single day. So she told me things that had nothing to do with my life, as much needed to respite from my very busy mind. How is the prep for the final goings, Annie? She asked one night as I strolled in the green patch near Aji's building after dinner, phone to my ear. It's going well, actually. When is graduation? 29 January. We are all coming, okay? You don't need to. Aji said she will be there. Are you crazy? Of course we will there. You have to come here. Couple of days before that so we can go together. Stay at mine. Oh, okay. That might be good actually. So proud of you, Annie. Something about those words hit me as a sport. At a sport that nothing but despair had touched in the past few weeks. My ass welled up. It was a new feeling and as emotional as it made me. I also felt strangely exhilarated. Thank you, I replied, sniffing and smiling at the same time. 1 month ago. December flew by. As my finals inched closer, the focus tunnel in my mind started getting narrower and narrower. Days seemed shorter as I spent most of my time cooped up in my room with my books, only occasionally surfacing up for air. The nights got shorter too, though I have to credit that to the luxury of real sleep brought on by the absence of nightmares and ugly thoughts that had been clouding my mind. I had begun to smile more at Ajay's taunt and laugh more at Martin's inappropriate jokes. I started going for walks in the evening when I needed to change of scenery, and on some days I reserved Instagram a little more without feeling much guilt. I had be lying if I said I did not go to Aman's profile every time I opened the app, but the last photo was the one he had taken of me after our coffee date in Masuri. The last day life had flicked the finger in my face and fucked up. At least he had not deleted it. Every once in a while, I played that last conversation out in my mind and the thought about everything I should have done. I should have given him the answer he had deserved to know the whole time. I should have heard him as much as he heard me. He heard me when I asked him to back off. He heard me when I pulled him closer again, and he heard me when I needed the space and asked him to leave me alone. Would he hear me if I asked him to come hug me one last time? I had walked over a lot of good intentions to reach this golden peak of mental wellness in my very eventful life. I had trampled on every last bit of hope I had just so I could shelter myself in my little pity place. I knew I would burn some very sturdy bridges, but at least I would go out there here without losing any more than I already had, just the most perfect man in the world. No big deal. I would walk away from him knowing that a part of world was dying. A little voice in my head had let out the huge sigh. Like I would been waiting for this happen to only so I could move on to fixing everything else that was fucked up in my life. There was a finality in the last breath I took in the same room as him, like God was telling me to breathe in as much of him as I could, because I would never breathe the same again. At 23 years old, allowed to feel heartbreak like this early in life, don't we have to go through numerous smaller heartbreaks so that by the time we are 60, we can tell the 23 olds in our lives that heartbreaks were not the end of world? I don't know, and I had not knowing, but then again, you win some, you lose some, right? Dealing with trauma and getting better, but losing love in process, slip deal. But I'll take it. Hell, I'm just 23. I'm sure I'll meet a lot of green men. Who are you kidding? Who are you even kidding of me? Present day, 29 January 2024. I drew in a long breath as Maya pulled into the convention center behind the university building where the law apartment, my department, had its office and classes. Ria squeezed my hand as I slung my tote bag on my shoulder and unlocked the door to step out. I had been on campus since September last year, but I would attend every class from home. Strangely, most of all, I had missed the half cooked bland food the university canteen served. I walked towards the auditorium, the venue of my con- convocation. I saw my classmates walking in with big smiles. Some of them came over to catch up with me. Where have you been? It's been so long. How are you? Did you lose weight? I politely shoved between good. Thank you. How are you? And yeah, a long time. And exchanged a few awkward hugs as the alarm rang for everyone to be seated. I turned to look at Aji and the gang when it hit me like a truck. After same, my limbs froze. I turned to Maya, my eyes wide, expecting her to be able to give me no answer whatever, but she knew something I did not. I saw the tiniest tear forming in the corner of her eye as she broke into a wide smile and nodded at me. Was I supposed to know what that meant? I looked at Ria and Martin and Dhruv and Aji and realized they were all looking at me like I would just won an Oscar. I held the strap of my tote bag in a deep that grip and blinked a few times before I let my eyes wander in the direction of the scent. My heart beat faster than I knew it could as I scanned the crowd, rows and rows of students and their families settling into their seats. Ugly maroon carpet and traps, emergency exit door, sign glowing lazily, huge speakers hanging off the walls, the projector room, more row of people, the door I had just walked through, and Aman. He stood a few feet away from the door, looking at me, smile, dimples, eyes. I parted my lips to take in what felt like an actual breath, and suddenly nothing hurt. Seeing him there in the flesh made me feel like I would been walking through life in a smoky haze of uncertainty and doubt these past few weeks. And now someone had finally opened a window. I stared at him without moving a muscle. I don't think my brain could code any instructions in that moment, and even it could be, my body would not follow. Aman must have picked up on that because he took one tentative step towards me and then another. And before I could really prepare myself, he was standing in front of me. I stood rooted to my spot, scared that if I blinked, whatever this dream was would shatter. Hi, gorgeous. And instead, urge to duck arose in me, but my brain somehow registered how useless that would be. Hi, I barely managed to say. He was within touching distance up for grabs, mine if I wanted to speak. I told myself, but the words would not form. There was too much to ask and yell about the apologize for. Can we talk? He asked softly. Yes. He nodded politely at Aji and the gang. and stepped back to let me lead. I walked towards the exit like I knew where I was going. Then we were at the parking a lot of the convention center. I stepped when I reached a corner where the buzz of convention ceremony seemed like a distant hum. I turned to see Aman right behind me, looking at with me the crystal clear brown eyes and hands held together like he was the next up at his school's fifth standard allocation competition when he did not break the silence and it started ringing in my ears. I said, "Talk. Hi. You said that already. I know, okay. I know you are upset," he said after an extremely long pause, but gave that away. Avni, say more and say quick. Aman. The reality of the situation was suddenly bringing to the dawn on me, and all the feelings that I had carefully folded and piled away in the deepest corners of my mind were springing up like the vacuum seal had finally snapped. I know I should have heard you out. I know I should have been a little more considerate before reacting the way I did about what went down between Gagan and I cut him off. You think that's what I upset about? He blinked at me and like I would spoken in Dothraki. Sorry, what? He asked after a medium long pause. What? I almost shouted back. What? Left your room with my suitcase in September and you walk up to me in your perfect fucking suit and tie in January asking me what? I'll ask you what. First, what the fuck were you doing all this time? What is the meaning of taking me to your home and into your life and then shoving me aside like last evening newspaper and going MIA on me? What is your reason for thinking that no matter how bad things got, giving up on us completely was an okay way of dealing with it? What was going on in your mind when you decided to grace me with your presence on such an important day of my life? What did you think was going to happen? And lastly, what gave you the fuck all idea of not being with me when I needed you the most? Anyone passing by must have thought, oh, another lover's quarrel, but only Aman and I knew of the quicksand we were both standing on at that moment. My temper was running wild, and only when I shut up after the last sentence did I realize how loud and screechy my voice had got. This, I thought, is why I can't believe this man. I had just yelled at him in this smelly parking lot, and he was looking at me like I would just finished singing the most beautiful ballad. I have missed you too, he said. I swear to God, if I had not taken all that therapy, my fist would have made contact with his perfectly pointy nose. I was sure to miss it by an inch or so, but it would be connect nonetheless. What was it when the with men and their audacity to constantly assume? Aman, answer the question before I turn and walk away. Which one? You asked a fair few. Why didn't you call, baby? Baby, I gave you every reason not to. But why didn't you? You are supposed to be the mature, reasonable person in this relationship. The bigger reason I am the one with issues who does not see good things when it's staring her in the face. But you know better. And you went missing. I asked you to leave me alone and you did. Why didn't you come? Why didn't you come when I needed you? Because you didn't need saving, Avni. You needed time. You took a deep breath and held my shoulders to sit me down on the concrete ledge behind us. I wanted to go after you and ask you to stay that night when you packed your suitcase and left my room. But I knew that if I did that, I would lose you forever. There is so much I wish I had done that night. I wish I had taken a moment to process everything before letting rage take over and landsliding into becoming a complete I regret so much from that night. But the one thing I did not was that you needed to deal with a lot before you could even get to you and me. Life had pushed you around and given you no room to breathe. You needed space and time to breathe. People you loved and trusted had left you with no explanation, and you needed time to learn how to trust again. You had lost all faith in love, and you needed to time to know that it was there for you if you wanted it. I did not leave you, Avni. I only let you to be with yourself. Nobody could teach you how to deal with life better than you. You did not need a savior. You needed someone who would get off your way of your way so you could be who you are, so you would look in the mirror and see what I see, and you would know that you make me want to be everything that you deserve. He took my hands in his. I have counted every minute, every second, every breath until now. I have waited patiently for you to love yourself again, so you would let me love you. This morning, when Maya messaged asking me to come see you at your convention, I almost did not believe it would happen. In the past few months, I have walked to the bookstore, and had coffee with Martin every day on my way back from work so I could hear how your day had been. I have worn my aftershave every day only because it reminds me of you. You have been my first and last waking thought every single day. How could you even think that I was not going to be here when you were ready for me? I have been waiting, baby, and I am yours if you would to me to be. I have loved you the day I first saw you at the bookstore, and I love you today. I never knew. I knew you would hate me if I hugged your intention immediately after you left. You know you would have. I did not want to lose you any more than I already had, even after you ignored all the emails I sent you in October. I kept writing, hoping that someday I would hear back. Whenever you were ready, and when you replies, never. What emails? I asked between sniffs. My emails. Wow, CEO of company, and this is the answer he came up with. What emails? Aman, I don't have any emails from you. Of course you do. I mean, I sent. He opened the email app on his app and held the screen up for me to see. He scrolled through hundreds of emails, starting with Avni, followed by a bunch of words that blurted out as he scrolled up and down. I took the phone from him and opened the latest one. Avni, I don't know when you will read this, but I scrolled through it like it was spam and went up to the top of the page. Check the receiver details from Aman Rana Gmail to let me lose your lemons at the red Gmail. I looked up from the screen with eyes as wide as I could stretch. Where did you get this email? From the feedback form you filled out at the restaurant from our first date. The day you told me you would not have added your actual number in the feedback register of a local bookstore. Yeah, and you believed I would give my actual email in ID to restaurant. I would never be able to afford going back. And an even bigger question. You thought my actual email is let me lulu your lemons at gmail.com. You have a business degree from fucking Oxford, Aman. What the actual fuck? I threw the phone at him. He quickly moved to catch it while I smacked him on the shoulder. Then his chest and was violently about to grab his shirts so I could hug smash him. When he held both my wrists and pulled me towards him and picked me up in a bear bag. I'm not sure if I was laughing or crying in that moment. I buried my head in the collar of his shirt and wrapped up my arms tighter around his neck, even as he tightened his grip around me like he would never let me go. And I let myself fall, hopelessly, tirelessly, mercilessly, and endlessly in love all over again with this fine specimen of a man. Finally, yes, finally the other shoe had dropped for real this time. There was something wrong with him. After all, let me lulu your lemons at the gmail.com. For fuck's sake. सो गाइस यहाँ हमारी बुक होती है ख़त्म और इसके बाद आप कमेंट कर सकते हैं कि आपको कौन सी बुक पढ़नी है और जो भी बुक पढ़नी है मैं ऐसी आपको डिजिटल मोड पे रीड करके बताऊँगी क्योंकि ऐसी लोगों को ज़्यादा पसंद आता है क्योंकि वो बोलते हैं कि हम फॉलो वगैरह नहीं कर पाते हैं. सो इन्जॉय दिस बुक. इसकी सारी एपिसोड मैंने अपलोड कर दिए हैं, आप देख सकते हैं, सुन सकते हैं और जो भी आपकी फेवरेट बुक हो आप प्लीज़ कमेंट करें तो नेक्स्ट टाइम वही पढ़ूँगी मैं. थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग. डू सब्सक्राइब एंड शेयर माई वीडियोज़. थैंक्स.